Kip, this is Dustin Wilmus. Is this a good time to ask you a few questions?
Sure, man.
Excellent. Well, first of all, when I was kind of researching your background a bit, I didn't realize, but you have kind of like a jazz, classical sort of music background. I mean, how did you come about playing the style of more hard rock kind of music coming from that?
Well, man, when people read it, they assume that I studied all that stuff when I was a kid. I grew up in a rock band with my two brothers, so I mean, I played, Van Halen and Led Zeppelin and stuff until, I was, basically my whole life. So my parents were in a jazz band. I never really was into jazz, but I am influenced by the harmony, so I dig, I'm into the harmony and stuff. And then later I studied classical music, but that was much later. Like when I was 35, I started really studying orchestra music. So
Okay.
consider me a self-taught musician who took it a little bit above and beyond the call of duty. I just try to keep learning and keep it all, fresh. And I'm really interested in the music theory and stuff, so I still study avidly and try to keep it fresh and not get stale about anything.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't hurt to have, different types of backgrounds and stuff when you're going into it for sure. Well, obviously another guy who's got, different genres and backgrounds as far as his music goes, Alice Cooper. And can you kind of tell us a little bit about how you wound up playing with him?
I played 4 songs on the Constrictor album at Atlantic Studios when I was kind of like doing session bass playing, and I'd come out of my band. My brothers and I had a band till I was about 20, and then I moved to New York, and I was waiting tables at the time. Basically, I got a call from a producer that was working on his record, and played 4 songs, and really just kind of mentioned to him if he goes on tour, I'd love to be a part of it. They would consider me. So lucky for me, I got the gig, and kind of just that really reshaped a lot of stuff about what was going on in my life at the time. So it was a great opportunity. Alex is amazing and very generous guy, and really a good gig to have.
Yeah, around that time was really sort of kind of a comeback for Alice Cooper as well, and that Nightmare Returns tour was huge. Do you have any specific memories you remember of being on stage, or how was that experience?
Well, every night, it was arena tour. So, I mean, like I said, I went from waiting tables to doing arenas. It was surreal. So every night was a big rock show, and we had a blast. I mean, Alice was real clean by the time we got into that, and I was never really I never really saw the drugs out there. We were just we really dug performing, and we did party a bit, and it was kind of a wild scene, but it wasn't wild by I died with a needle in my arm standards. We were
Sure.
we were all just having we were really into playing the music and touring the world and seeing the sights and stuff. So it was there was some debauchery, but not as much as you might think.
Well, eventually, obviously, you went on to form Winger not long after that. Was that just something that came out of the Alice Cooper, or what was the story behind that?
Oh, I always wanted to do my own band, so at the time we went back in to do the Razor Fist and Yell album, and they were all going back out on the road, and I just wanted to take my shot then, so I left the band, and Alice was real supportive. He was actually the only one that was really supportive. I mean, Kane Roberts was cool, but a lot of the camp thought I was nuts, to leave such a great gig. But I really wanted to take my own shot, and luckily for me, stuff worked out. But it could have just as easily gone the other way, I guess.
Well, yeah, obviously, your intuition was right there. I mean, you guys scored some pretty huge success there right off the bat with your first album. Were you surprised at all by that quick success, or were you kind of thinking that'd be the way that it would go?
Man, honestly, our record was dead in the water for the first 6 months, so we were all thinking we were going to lose our deal. And then 6 months later, it kicked in, So it was pretty touch and go there for a while, honestly. But when MTV picked it up and then radio followed, then all bets were off. We did real well there for a good 3 or 4 years. And, man, I was really lucky, basically. A lot of this business is luck, so, you hope for the best and try to make it happen.
Yeah, and it seems like once that album took off, you guys seem to be on the road for years, maybe at a time. You're playing with Kiss and Poison and a lot of the bands around then. Was that just kind of a blur those few years, or?
No, man. I mean, I remember most of it. I don't remember specific shows, but a lot of people I meet on the road are like, hey, I met you at this, and I usually remember, I definitely remember like key points. We did a lot of great shows with a lot of great bands, and it was really, we still do, dude. I mean, we're still out. I just did the Monsters of Rock cruise, and all the same cast of characters were there, and it was sold out. And so, it's kind of. I had a few lean years, during the whole downfall of the '80s thing with the Beavis and Butthead and all that. But I mean, it's kind of come back to, I can't complain. I'm 30 years in, and I'm still getting gigs.
Yeah, definitely successful, no doubt about that. Can you kind of, obviously you left Winger, you went out and did some of your solo stuff. Was that much different from Winger, or were you kind of the guy that was in charge of both the whole time?
I mean, I had a lot of influence on the band. I was kind of calling the shots in some ways, but, back then Atlantic Records was calling a lot of the shots, and we had a couple different managers. But mostly I managed the band with this cat who was producing us named Bo Hill, so we did a lot of it ourselves. I mean, you win some, you lose some. I mean, it just kind of, we weren't a huge band, but I mean, we did really well. So, I mean, I can't complain. I got to live the rock and roll dream all these years. So I've been pretty lucky, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. You touched on it briefly. I don't know are you comfortable at all talking about the whole Beavis and Butthead thing, or I mean, were you all right with them guys poking fun at you, or?
Oh well, I mean, it's just part of the legacy of the band. Yeah, I mean, I don't care if you talk about it; it's fine with me. I mean, it's just we ended up on the wrong end of the show. It was a very funny show. Mike Judge is a very funny guy, and it didn't help us at the time, but it seems to have helped us in some way, ironically, because it was such a great irony that Winger having the musicianship that we have, like Rod Morgenstein on drums, for example, and then to be, I think really what it is we're just a very misunderstood band, basically, when it really comes down to it. A lot of the musician types that I do interviews with, they totally get it, and the musicians out there get it, and a lot of the fans get it, and some of the fans, just kind of think we suck, so that's just the way it is. I mean, it's showbiz, you can't really put a gun to someone's head and say, hey, you have to like my band, it just kind of is what it is. If you really listen to it, then, you see that we know what we're doing. So it was kind of a drag at the time, but I mean, I don't care to talk about it or anything. It's all fine now. It all turned out kind of in an interesting, good way.
Well, yeah, obviously it didn't stop you guys from going out there and doing it. You got a new album coming out with Winger, Better Days Coming. Can you kind of tell us what to expect from that?
Man, that's it's really the culmination of a lot of years together. We came off Karma was 5 years ago. I can't believe 5 years has gone by. Everybody in my band is in another band, so we get together when we can make sure the time is everybody's got the time freed up. So this album has kind of one of everything that we've done in our career, and it really sums up what the band is all about. I think the songs are really strong, and we were really happy with it. Great sounding album, and the band plays better now than we played in years. I mean, well, we're really feeling good about our performances, and we have a great time together. And when we get together, it's a lot of laughs, and we dig each other, and it's a cool gig to still have.
So, do you guys have a tour in the works for this album?
Yeah, man, we're out. We're doing gigs between now and the end of the year right now. We're pretty much booked. You can go to wingertheband.com and see all the gigs that post daily. They're coming in by the day. So I'm sure we'll be in somewhere close to anybody who's listening.
Well, and you mentioned the other members all have different projects on the side as well. Is there anything that you have coming up or anything you're working on?
Well, I mean, right now I'm focusing on the band. I've got. I write classical music, so I've got several things in the pipeline with that. And I'm, collecting the ideas for another solo album. I've got 3 solo albums out. So on the off time, I usually put one of those out. But I'm, you can rest assured that I'm just continually pumping something out. You can always check out our webpage for whatever I'm doing. But right now I'm focusing on this album and playing a lot of gigs. And, we're going to Europe and Japan and all that stuff. So, we're just out working.
Yeah, and you mentioned, some people out there might get Winger and some might not. But, I mean, if you're out there writing classical music, obviously a lot of those other quote-unquote metal bands probably couldn't pull that stuff off.
Well, probably not. But, I mean, I don't recommend it. it's a labor of love. Ever since I was a very young kid, I heard that kind of music in my head, and finally I got down to the brass tacks of learning what to do about it. And so I'm in that world, and very, very difficult, and it takes a lot of time. So I've been real lucky. I've had quite a few symphony performances, and I got a ballet with San Francisco Ballet that continues to get performed, and I just keep on, rolling. I tell this to a lot of people. I'm really, interested in music and the way music functions and stuff. So I'm kind of in it for that. I always want to keep try to understand music. It's this kind of thing that always gets away from you, and you work with it, and you get it, and then all of a sudden you don't get it anymore. It's one of these things that you can never stop learning. So, that's kind of my approach to all of this, and it's a fun ride, man.
Awesome. Well, again, Kip Winger, it's been great having you on today. Is there anything you want to leave the listeners with?
No, man, I really appreciate everybody's support for so long, and we're really happy to still be getting gigs after all this time. And come see us live. You won't be disappointed because we're playing great, and it's a lot of fun.
All right. Thanks a lot, man.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a good one.
All right, you too. Thanks.